people say, well, what's the downside of buying long-term care policies? Well, pay the premium every year. That's the downside. But you'll be very, very glad you have them if that does ever get played out. Hopefully it doesn't. But it's a very, very good thing to have. So explore the options of a long-term care policy. People ask, when should I look at it? Well, after you've educated your kids, you've paid your mortgages off, those are other priorities. But once you've done that, your kids are out of your house, and you're probably of retirement age or close to retirement age, that's the time to look at versus a long-term care policy. What some of the criteria that or the factors that go into these long-term care policies, and when you purchase, is really twofold. Number one is from a cost perspective. If you buy a policy when you're 60, the cost is reasonable at that particular point. The lady that was just in here, she's 85. Her cost is going to be very substantial. I would estimate at 85, if they'll write it, you're probably looking at $15,000, $20,000, somewhere in that neighborhood. If you're 60, your cost might be $1,000. Okay. Now that probably will meet your budgetary constraints long term. But if you got to shell out 20 grand a year, that's a little tougher. And the one thing I can tell you, the cost of long-term care policies do not go up incrementally; they go up exponentially. As you get older, it just skyrockets. Okay. Secondarily is insurability. You want to get these policies when you're insurable. When you're 60, you're healthy, everything's great, that's when to purchase it. If you wait too long and you are diagnosed with an arthritic condition, forget it, they're not going to write the policy. If you already got identified with any kind of memory impairment whatsoever, they're not going to write the policy. Again, mentioned before, the underwriting requirements for long-term care insurance is very, very different than it is for life insurance. Life insurance, they just want you to fall over and die. They're happy if you die. Okay. Long-term care policies, they don't want you to linger around. Okay. That's the bane of their existence. Is you linger around, you last too long, you go to a long-term care facility, and then they got to pay. So that's what they don't want. So specifically within this arena of long-term care, it is a very, very the consequences can be very dire if you do not plan. Okay. Many people stick their head in the sand. When clients come to me, I say, they ask a lot of questions, and I always say, there are no dumb questions, because there really aren't. This is new. It's very technical. There's no dumb questions. There's only one dumb comment, and I can tell you what that is. People come in all the time and they say, "I'm not going to a long-term care facility." To date, I've only had one client that was enamored to get into a long. For whatever reason, he wanted to go to the Erie County home. He liked the building. He could not wait. He liked the food. He had a relative that went there. He wanted to go to a nursing home. But that's one out of literally 5,000 or 6,000 people that wanted to go to a nursing home. I've never met anybody who's clamoring to get into a nursing home. It's just not someplace that we want to go. So we don't want to address it. It's not a lot of fun. And if you stick your head in the sand, say it's not going to happen, the common response to it is take me out back by the shed and shoot me. Yeah. Well, I say, well, my wife's a district attorney. To the best of my knowledge, that's not permissible in the state of New York. Massachusetts, they may allow that. I would tend to doubt that, but unfortunately, it's a reality that we have to face. And if you're not willing to address it, you have the unfortunate circumstance that you can lose. In many cases, everything, because instead they'll spend you down to $13,800, or it can be a significant erosion of your assets. And Clarkson guys, our mantra here, a workman that need not be ashamed. We work pretty hard. You engineers work very, very hard. And you tend to be very conservative with your expenditures, etc. You build up these nice nest eggs. Fortunately, you have a stroke or something along those lines, and you lose it all. So address that. That's the second hand that's ready to grab your assets. Third, yes, sir.
How does long-term care policies deal with local differences? For example, we're not from where we live. Let's say we want to live in Canandaigua, New York.
Yep.
And our families are from Utica, Rome area.
Okay.
You got a huge difference in long-term care costs from Canandaigua to Rome.
Absolutely.
How is that dealt with?
Well, the thing that happens there is, in most instances, the policies are not going to cover all the costs. It would be cost prohibitive. What you want to do is you kind of want to eyeball it and do maybe 75 or 80% of the job. The reason being is your Social Security, your pensions, etc. interest dividends driven off your investments, or IRAs, 401ks, or whatever, usually can supplement, therefore you can take care of the problem. Again, you're not going to do the job completely. To answer your question, in the state of New York, we have what's called the Robert Wood Johnson endorsed policies. These enable you to go ahead, if you get this endorsement on your policy, it enables you to, after the policy, and there's another issue, one of the factors in these policies is how long they cover for, 3 years or 5 years. Most of them, if you cover a particular period of time and you have this endorsement, you don't have to shield, you don't have to transfer your, the old days you used to transfer your assets immediately. Here you don't have to transfer the assets. All they can access thereafter is the income driven off of the principal. Okay, and that's a good segue. Long-term care policies are they're very intricate and they're very technical. The number of people that I deal with, and I deal with hundreds of financial planners nationally, that really get it and understand the nuances of the policy, you can probably put on 1 or 2 fingers. Very few people really understand it. So it's important to go to somebody, not your general investment guy or whatever, that just dabbles. Because they'll sell it to you because they want to make a commission, but they truly don't understand how to structure these things appropriately and in the most cost-effective way. So, in that regard, you may want to find somebody that really specializes specifically in this. And there are a few people that really get it. So, but you got, your point is dead on. Even between jurisdictions or localities, between Utica and downstate New York City, there's a big difference in how you plan. Because if you buy that policy up in Utica that you think is going to cover you, you go downstate, it's not going to buy you enough. So, but you want to look at those things and take a look at it and see if it fits, see if the gifting component